this is the car that hasn't broken down yet, you're right. Although it didn't start this morning, I had to jump start it because the battery was flat. Good morning, everybody. Well, good afternoon, actually. I want to just do a bit of a general chat, a bit of a general update. Obviously, we've got to address what's going on, or what has gone on in Spain and Portugal, and therefore what is coming next in the UK. Now, Spain and Portugal, if you've been living under a rock, then you won't know that Spain and Portugal have had no power. I spoke to a friend in Spain this morning to find out what's going on. He lives in fairly rural Spain where there's a village, and what happened there is exactly what I hope will happen. So we're going to start this video with a little bit of hope for humanity. He lives in a very small village, and the villagers all got together, got chairs and tables outside, and basically just chatted and enjoyed things. I know there was a bit of looting in some of the bigger cities. There's obviously electric cars abandoned all over Spain and Portugal right now, but that's not really my problem. My point is, people should be prepared for this stuff. You know, the government has told us to be prepared for stuff like this, for power outages, for water outages. And I think as well, people forget that you're only ever about 3 days from total chaos. And just generally, you should be prepared for everything around you to collapse, because it's actually very delicate. Anyway, in Europe, they told us exactly 33 days before it happened that something was going to happen. Did you know that? Do you remember last month the news was reporting that you should get 72 hours worth of provisions ready? Well, it was exactly 33 days from the day that it happened. Early reports on the ground from my friend in Spain, he was saying the locals were saying that it was Russia. Russia did it. And obviously we all know that that's probably not the case. And then it was the weather. The weather did it, but the people that understand weather said that there weren't really any solar flares or anything like that, which means that the only solution must be that it's another false flag where the government has very kindly done it to themselves or done it to their people. Will we be having the same in the UK? That's the question. I mean, the UK is enjoying a heat wave right now, so we are heeding government advice and staying home to save lives by going to Cornwall for the week. But the other side of that is, at our house at the minute, they're installing a heat pump, which is hilarious. Not my choice, obviously. We live in a small 2-bed cottage, and there is hardly any storage at all, and they've decided that what the best thing to do is, with the main storage compartment, they're going to fit a heat pump. And it all arrived yesterday, and I was absolutely staggered at the size of the equipment. So basically there's like 4 days of drilling through walls, installing new pipes, tearing up the children's bedroom. All the floorboards are up. The house is a right mess. So we thought, forget it, heat wave is here, we're going to Cornwall, which is obviously cheap because last week the kids were off school, so Cornwall was expensive. So one of the advantages of homeschooling is you get to take advantage of the fact that people get ripped off during the school holidays. So there's that. You're wondering why I'm not in a Volvo? Well, my brown Volvo from the other day, the alternator failed and I haven't had a chance to get that fixed yet. So we're in the 7 Series, which had been parked in the barn for a week, and I had to jump start this morning. But that's fine since then, and I've given it a good clean. And this is actually the perfect road trip vehicle. No heated seats, sadly, but I don't think we're going to be needing heated seats on this journey. We do have a huge sunroof, which is exciting because thanks to climate change, we're going to get some, no, it's just weather, isn't it? It's just weather. Thanks to weather, we're going to get some sunshine. So what do you think about the Portugal and Spain palaver? I think the power's back on now, but petrol stations were down to cash only. Obviously you couldn't charge your electric car. I know the water is off in some places now, but obviously there's fountains and there's springs where people can get water from, but not if you're in the big city. So I think the answer is, excuse me, Porsche. I think the answer is, if you live rurally, and I've said this in a lot of videos recently, the answer is community. The answer is in the people that are around you, and the answer is in cooperating. The answer is also not living in a big city. You need to be as far away from a big city as possible. I appreciate that's not always easy, but there are easy things that you can do to prepare yourself. Yes, you should have some water stashed away. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to store water. Yes, you should have some tinned food, some basics, some dried food, some pasta, some rice in large quantities, because it's very easy to keep that around. Do we have enough beans? No, we have run out of beans. We've got a lot of tomatoes and a lot of spaghetti. So we're going to be eating tomatoes with spaghetti. That is unless the power outage happens in Cornwall. Yes, mate.
Tomato is literally the core thing to making spaghetti.
Tomato is actually the core thing for making spaghetti. So we'll be fine. We'll essentially be having lots of spaghetti bolognese. But I don't know what to think about it all. I think they're trying to crash the West. I think sometimes it doesn't come across that I probably am further down the rabbit hole than you realise with all the various theories that there are. I think this plan to destroy the West in the UK, they probably don't need to do the power outages because there is an invasion going on, but I'm not allowed to talk about that on YouTube, and it's not an invasion of the lobsters, although they do come across the sea. Which is odd, because I had this conversation with someone just the other day about when you start to talk about the word that begins with R and rhymes with refugees. When you talk about that, people get really defensive and like, oh, they're just the most needy people in society. They're the ones that need the most help. But the clue is in the name, refuge. You're seeking refuge, which means you're seeking refuge in the first safe place that you can find, not then crossing an entire continent and jumping in a very risky boat to get across the sea. There must be a reason that they're all coming here, and there must be a reason that they're being allowed to come here and then being financed at a rate of £26 million per day. But you're not allowed to talk about any of that because it's nothing to do with lobsters. Car-wise, none of my cars are operational apart from this one. So as I said, the alternator failed on the brown Volvo, and that should be done next week. But that is a lovely car. I've still got the two other Volvo XCs, the one that sold on eBay twice and has not been collected twice. So if you want to buy my brown Volvo XC automatic project, £674, sorry, was the latest bid on eBay, and you can have it and you can get it back on the road, and you can look just like Jeff Buys Cars, who is now a terrorist. Did you see me in the Sun newspaper? I was on page 4, not page 3, sadly. Although we have been sponsored by an underwear company for an upcoming video. Hey, you might see Mrs. Jeff in her underwear. You won't see any of us in our underwear, but I will use some stock images, which you'll probably all enjoy. So that's coming up. But yeah, I was on page 4 of the Sun newspaper, and what's hilarious about that is they chose the worst possible image of me basically doing this. I don't know if you saw it. I either looked like I was really angry, or I was like pushing one out. Yeah, it wasn't the best picture, was it? But page 4 of the Sun newspaper, being called a terrorist, proper claim to fame that. I've had a couple of people offer me to post me the newspaper so that I can frame it and give it to my mum. She can file it in the family filing cabinet next to the other article that I was in the newspaper from many years ago, when after an altercation at Stourbridge College, I listed the entire college for sale on eBay and very nearly got kicked out of college for doing so. But yeah, so I could never park, so and eBay had just become a thing. So what I did was I put the whole college on eBay starting at 99p, and I started getting emails from America of people like asking about the deeds and all sorts. It got pretty serious. Then it made the local newspapers, but thankfully it was all anonymous, and it was all eventually brushed off as probably being a disgruntled lecturer because they just let a load of staff go. So we got away with that. But my mum framed the article because she was so proud. So, page 4 of the Sun for being a terrorist. We've gone one better, haven't we? More to come on the Malvern Hills Trust fiasco. I'm going to actually go through the 204-page bill and find all of the bits that people are saying, Jeff, you're just overreacting. I'm not. It's all in there about being able to make money off the land from energy that has been generated. I mean, if that isn't a way of saying solar panels, I don't know what is. And also, I'm going to be going for a drive around Malvern to show you all of the empty properties. Bearing in mind, Malvern's a very expensive place where we can no longer afford to live, and you can't buy a house and you can't rent a house. There's a lot of empty property. Now, what would they be doing with empty property? Well, there's a company called Serco, and they've got a plan. So if you've got some empty property and you want to rent it out for 6 years and 11 months, then Serco will pay you the top whack for it, so long as you're happy to have lobsters occupying your property. I'm sure the lobsters will contribute to the economy and to society and to culture, and I'm pretty confident that putting 150 fighting age young male lobsters in buildings in this country where they don't really understand the culture nor do they respect it is a great idea. So if you need to take refuge anywhere, I highly recommend that you do it at the safest possible. It's like on the motorway, isn't it? It's like on a motorway. Your car's breaking down, you need to find a refuge area.
Connect. It happens through shared interests.
Thank you. This is Jeff scrolling on Instagram. If you need to take refuge in your car on the motorway, your car's breaking down, it's terminal, you have to find refuge. It's not like I'll go, oh, let's just see if we can make it to Gloucester Services because I know they're doing me in flat white. And then it doesn't work, does it? You stop at the first safest place to check everything over and ensure that your car and your family are all okay. What you don't do is, that's enough. I've said enough about it without actually saying anything about it. You know it, I know it. Let's enjoy this heat wave and watch the media blame climate change. So that's it for motorhome and everything videos for the next few days. The motorhome, last night I completed the interior. It's all wallpapered, it's all painted. I've still got the ceiling to do and the floor. Mrs. Jeff helped me a lot. She's giving me a look now. You did help a lot, to be fair. Phil's now on holiday as well for the next week or so. So realistically, the motorhome, it's not even going to be started for the next 3 weeks, let alone finished in 3 weeks. But we should be done by the end of May, and then we are off out of here. If the world hasn't collapsed in the meantime, and if everybody's got enough water and electricity and food to survive. Answers on a postcard to jeffbuyscars@gmail.com if you've got interesting articles to share with me about electrical cars, lobsters, or anything else of interest. Thank you very much for watching. Now we're going to go to Gloucester Services for a flat white.